I first heard it, I was a little surprised and shocked, because I thought there were so many other people more deserving than I. And you know, my main claim to fame, I guess, was being a tennis coach with a winning record, but I did have a good record as reserve coach, but reserve coaches don't usually make it to the Hall of Fame anyplace. Well, we all remember our first game and our first year. Reynolds Flynn was going to move up to be head coach. They needed an assistant coach, and I said I was interested when I first talked to the superintendent. And I was interviewed, and the question was asked, do you think you could work with Coach Flynn? Well, I'd been watching games for 2 years, and I said I can work with anybody. And Coach Flynn said, well, you know, what do you know about basketball? I said, well, I played some in high school. I had good coaches. I learned some things from some not so good coaches, what not to do. And he said, you know, do you believe in any certain system? And I said, no, whatever system you want, that's the one I'll use, because, you know, if I'm going to feed players to you, we have to be on the same page. And he said, well, that's the one I want to hear.
No, I was very shocked, very humbling call, but I was more shocked than anyone. When I was a kid, that's all I thought about was sports, and I eventually got into coaching and teaching because of that. And like I said, I'm surprised I'm sitting here, because I played with so many really, really good athletes. I can name them, I said somewhere in the Hall of Fame, but I just remember it just being a closest athletics. Holmes was probably the biggest high school in the area then, and if we didn't have a good season, you know, 500 was not acceptable. I mean, that was out of the question. I'd be very forgetful if I didn't remember Coach Ellis. And if every time I get together with any of my old buddies, there has to be a Coach Tom story. And the funny part about that, they're all true. Unless you know Coach Ellis, you know, they say, is that fictitious, or is that a real story? And all of them were real. I guess that started everything rolling. Actually, he was my first coach here. I was a freshman at John G, and I came up and played varsity baseball as a freshman. And he was my first introduction to Holmes High School.
I was very pleased. I knew they had this Hall of Fame here, and I'd seen a while back some people that were inducted in it, and I knew a lot of them, and I thought that would be pretty cool to be in that. As a matter of fact, when my wife got the call from Gary, she didn't know exactly what it was for. I said, that has to be for Holmes. That has to be. I said, if that's Holmes, I really want to be in that. So yeah, I was very appreciative and very proud. In 1963 is when the baseball team won a state championship. It had been a long time since any team from North Kentucky had won it. And it stood for a long time until just a few years ago, Covington Catholic won a state championship. John Drought was the head coach, Ron Birch was the assistant coach. They had a great team. There was three of us young guys. I wanted to play, but I was only in the 8th grade. But I still went and tried out. And John Drought said, look, I think you're a little far off yet. He said, but if you want to be the manager and help out, I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I had a great time. I started umpiring when I was a sophomore. I did that all through school when I really got the bug as far as umpiring was concerned. And when I graduated, basically took some classes at UK the summer and fall semester, knowing that in January I was going to go to the professional umpire school in Florida and see if I could get a job. I spent 13 years in the minor leagues, almost 29 in the major leagues. So I was very fortunate.
I was surprised, but honored. Never dreamed of anything like that. Well, everybody knew everybody. And Grant had students from Independence, Newport, Boone County, You know, it was a real small school. You know, it was we had 101 students, and that was kindergarten through the 12th grade. So it was, you know, it was intimate. But James Brockus, who really influenced my life and my basketball career.
I was surprised, pleasantly surprised. It was rewarding because swimming and diving has always been and continues to be such a big part of my life. So to be acknowledged for what I did in high school, it was amazing. I qualified for the state meet beginning in the 6th grade. So from 6th grade all the way through my senior year, I was a state qualifier. My junior and senior year of high school, I was the runner-up in diving both years, and I was a qualifier in the 50 free. My senior year, I was the most valuable competitor at the regional meet for swimming and diving, which that was the first year they ever had to give that award out, because prior to that they always gave a most valuable swimmer, and I was the first person who did swimming and diving, so they had to change the name of the award, and it has continued to stay changed since then. In terms of athletics, the swimming and diving team, we had individual competitors up until that point in diving, but we had never had a swim team. So Holmes is a very traditional school, and that's what I love about Holmes is the tradition. And I kind of introduced a new sport that really didn't have that much glamour to it. So it was an exciting time to be able to be a part of something that was new.
I always appreciate what Holmes has done. I really, when Gary called, I was very thankful, and what I do, I just remember all our great coaches and all our players. I played 3 years sophomore, and I was 17-3 in 3 years, but it was the players. You had a good team. Everybody was a team player. That's what I loved, and my coaches were great. John Drought and Ron Bursch, you can't beat them. You know, my biggest thing is pitching baseball. I love playing baseball. I love working with Ron Burch and John Drought, Carl Franklin, Tom Henning had just left here, Bill Blackburn, Murphy. But my biggest honor was beating Covington Catholic in the district finals, shut them out, because I did go to Covington Catholic my freshman year, and I transferred down here. So beating them. Mr. Hep Cronin, who was an Atlanta scout, didn't want me pitching until my junior year up at Covington Catholic. So I said, that's not going to be. And John I knew real well, and he said, why don't you come on over here? And so my biggest honor was I had one perfect game in my pitching career. I struck out 18 batters in one game and 21 outs. I pitched a perfect game, summer municipal league with John Drought. So that all those things that you remember, I had 4 no-hitters totally. My pitching career, 17-3. I averaged 10 strikeouts a game. My ERA was under 3. I was clocked at Mike and Field at 97 miles per hour by a Yankee scout who followed me in baseball. And then the downfall was my senior year. I dislocated my elbow. I played my heart out for all those years, not only, and was being followed, was being talked to for my 3 years in high school, and then my career. First time an 18-year-old boy was sitting on the bench crying when the elbow snapped. So those are all memories of good things and bad things.
Oh, we had a great time. Yeah. Well, we enjoyed being top team in the city. Even though at that time we weren't allowed to play in the tournament. But for 4 years of my playing, we traveled all over Kentucky let's see, there was 22 in my class. 18 of us went to college. Of course, I worked here for 30 years as a dean of boys. I worked as a coordinator for desegregating the school. And I taught science. Well, I coached in 7th grade, then they gave me 8th grade. Well, I started off with the girls because they didn't have a girls team here, and they wanted to have a team. So they asked me to do that. That's a sure.
I played football and played basketball, but always excelled at track. 1958 as a freshman, I made the varsity team. Actually qualified for state. We won the I anchored the mile relay. We won that in the region. Don't remember how we finished in state. Obviously, we didn't win. But then, from 1959 through 62, I won the 440 every year in the regional, and then in 62 I won the 100 and the 220, so I got to run 3 events at state. When I ran track, of course, you competed against the entire state. I mean, there were no class ranks for schools. You know, I chose Eastern because it was small. The track coach at Eastern was a Holmes grad. I think if I had to do it over, I'd probably go to UK because they were the first one to offer me a scholarship. But it just seemed so big and overwhelming. And then when I got down to Eastern, of course, coach again, a Holmes grad, and nice small campus, so I chose Eastern. And I enjoyed it.
Thrilled to play on some of those teams. That state championship team, I was a sophomore that didn't get to play very much, but great guys. We've been friends past high school. Been proud of all of them so much, so that was a great experience. John Dowd, Ron Birch, they were good coaches, good men, taught us a lot, and they're still good friends these days. And they did a good job with us. I was in their classes at school here, and they were good teachers, so that was a great experience. I loved basketball. Basketball was my favorite sport. It was a thrill to be named to the All-State team with Lou Herndon. Those guys, the boys from Carlisle that we grew up together down in Covington, and guys from Latonia, and great friendships to this day. We played hard. I thought we were good athletes. Just really good, loving, caring teachers. I think back over, junior high all the way to my senior year. I can't think of one that didn't have my best interest in mind, and I learned a lot of things here. Okay. Great school.
I'm very happy, as a matter of fact, and honored, of course. It's a great honor. I know quite a few people that have been brought in, and I thought maybe one day it would happen to me, and it has, so it's a great feeling. I played 4 years under Tom Ellis, and then we had some great athletes that I played with, and we did some great things while I was here, and in football, baseball, and basketball. As a matter of fact, in basketball, we won the NKC championship when I was a senior. That was a great highlight, and it was a highlight planned with athletes like Bob White, Dave Bishop, Albert Lewis, and I could go on with great people that I played with. Well, it was a great school, and it still is, and I remember that we were in a transitional stage, not only in athletics, but academically, and really in the stage of really getting into some wonderful things academically, like the baccalaureate program and things like that. And athletics was, well, we were making a transition, if I could say this, from perhaps the old-time football where we started with the face mask when I was here. We transitioned over from those old leather helmets that they used to wear into the plastic helmets that they're now wearing. And things were developing. I was just very happy to be part of that.
Love track. Those was my two favorites, basketball and track, but track I love the best. And then I also, you know, love marching band. So I stayed busy all year. I was a sprinter, high jumper, and any type of relay, anything to do with fast. We went down in state a couple of years down in Frankfurt, I believe, in track. So yes, so we met some other challenges down there. We found out we wasn't as fast as we thought we were until we met other people. So yes, it was very exciting, the trips were. I would like to say that I'm glad that this came about. You know, there's a lot of good players here and stuff, and without them, I think I would have never been introduced into a lot of sports and stuff. And like I said, I was a shy person, but once I played my sports, I was a different person.
Recognized at a place that you spent many years and had a lot of family go through is definitely a nice honor. I had signed at Bellarmine University, but when I went down there and I was going through everything, Mr. Young, who was our varsity coach here, only had a few years to go. So he and I talked, and I decided to transfer up to NKU and join the staff. And so I kind of became a head coach at a very young age, within about 3 years. Before I even graduated college, and so that was kind of my plan. If I stayed at Bellarmine and did that, I kind of made a choice. You know, do I want to do this for, you know, the rest of my life? Is this something I want to do? And at the time, I decided to put that value over playing. But I had signed at Bellarmine University, but made the choice to come up here and don't regret it. I coached and went here until '07. So I did girls softball, fast pitch. I started the fast pitch program here, and then I did boys soccer here till '02. And then finally in '07, I went, you know, out to Boone County.
I guess my highlights are just my longtime friendships with my fellow athletes and my friends. We've stayed in touch with a lot of them. I had a wonderful high school career here, and then out of the gym I went to the dean's position, and then after that I went to the assistant principal and athletic director, and then from there I went down to the central office as general director for operations and maintenance, which meant I was in charge of the maintenance, all the schools. I would like to say that I had the honor of playing with two football players. That Albert Lewis graduated the year before me. He went on to play for Bear Bryant at Alabama, and Ron Bird and I were alternate captains of the football team, and Ron went on to play for Bear Bryant.
Well, some of the highlights, especially, I guess one of the greater ones was in 1957 when we won the district tournament, 9th district tournament at that time. And we went on to the, after that to the region. We were kind of planning on going to the state, but we got stopped in the region, but that was one of the best times of our, in our high school sports situation. I do remember it was coming along earlier. I guess it was before the freshman year, like the 8th grade or so. We had teacher by the name of Mr. Barrell, which was a good teacher for us at the time to kind of get us ready for playing later on and during the years. And we had, of course, Walter Gilliard was one of our coaches during the time. And later on we had Jim Brock, as who was with us in later years when we had such a great team. It was just a good time in our life, and it was very enjoyable. We played some of our games here, I think at Holmes High School. They opened up their gym to us for a while to play there. And we had a lot of friends, Tommy Heron and a lot of other friends that was here at Holmes. And we all kind of played together during the summers and that sort of thing anyway. So it was just a good time in life and a good time for all the guys in sports and all that, and for the school as well.
I was really excited and also humbled at the same time. You know, it was kind of a combined feeling, so to speak, because you know I bled bulldog red and white, and you know it means a lot to me. I guess the biggest highlight was being a junior and being honored to play with Larry Israel, Mike Hudson, Charlie Perry, and Gene Parton, who were all seniors. So I was the only junior, so I felt very lucky that I, an underclassman, could play with these guys. And I'm probably here partly because of those guys. Might not be the same story if it would have been, you know, a different team. But we had a very good team that year. Well, I love playing baseball. Of course, you know, if the Reds would have said, hey, we'll give you a peanut butter sandwich and $10 a week if you play for us, I would have played, you know. Of course, this was back before free agency. If there would have been a free agency back then, I would have demanded 2 peanut butter sandwiches. John Drought took over Tom Ellis's job as baseball coach, and they went to state the year after I graduated and won the state championship. And I ran into some of my ex-teammates who were underclassmen when I graduated. I said, hey, you guys, thanks a heck of a lot. I said, you wait for me to graduate, and then you win the state championship. And their choral response was, well, once we got rid of the dead weight, it wasn't a problem. And that really was kind of a stake in the heart there.
I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. Miss Diana told me she was my athletic trainer when I was in high school, and we spent a lot of time together. Probably more time than she would have liked, but she let me know. I let her know that I was thankful and grateful for this opportunity. You know, I didn't foresee any of this coming at this age for sure, because for me, I still feel like I have a lot more things to do and to accomplish, and you know, this is just a start for me. But extremely grateful. Humbled is the one word that comes to mind. Some highlights while playing at Holmes. 2 things stand out. My junior year, we made a regional run. First time in probably 6 years. We made a run in a regional tournament, made it all the way to the championship game against Notre Dame Academy. Ended up coming up short by 2 or 3 points. But that's definitely a highlight for me. It was very fun that year to play with that team, that coaching staff, being able to make that run. It was just a great experience. That's definitely one of my highlights. The second would have to be a sophomore year. We're playing against Ludlow at home, and at halftime, Erica Holman came in and spoke to us. That was big for me because I was very in tune and in touch with the people that had played before me. So being able to hear someone like that come back and talk and speak, that was really a highlight for me, because that was someone that I looked up to, you know, that also put that Holmes jersey on. I want to thank the Tom Ellis Athletic Memorial Foundation for selecting me. You know, like I said, I'm very appreciative, very humbled. I would like to thank my coaching staff throughout my high school career, Dennis Sword, Jim Anstead, and you know, my role model, the person that influences me still to this day, great leader, Celeste Brockett. I call her my second mom. She's done a lot for me. Still to this day, you know, she'll message me and tell me how proud she is of me. That's someone I would really like to thank. And of course, my friends, my mom, my dad, they're all great influences for me throughout my career and still to this day.
It was great. I enjoyed high school. It was new friends from different backgrounds and everything, and it was all changing. Well, you know, back in the 70s, the world was changing. And
yes.
It was a different culture, getting to know different people. It was a transition. It was, what, 5 or 6 years removed from William Grant coming this way. And of course, I went to John G. Colau before I come out here. And it was just, like I said, new background, meeting new people from different backgrounds, and it's a learning process. I had a lot of times, good times football. Had good friends, made lifelong friends on the football team, because a lot of people didn't know it. We was 0-10 when we was sophomores, but we was the same ones that was 7-2 when we was seniors that competed. And we all stuck together, and a lot of us, I talked to some of them out there now.
Surprised. We're really surprised, and thinking about it was a big honor, really, to someone think that much of you, to invite you to join a fraternity. You might want to say fraternity, because everybody can't belong to this fraternity. At that particular time, there was no integration, so we had to travel to many different places to play, and sometimes it was kind of rough to get in there playing, but high school life was a really good life, you know, even though I had to work through my high school years and play ball too, make it kind of a little bit rough on me, but it was worth it. Good teachers, got a decent education, got a scholarship to college, so I couldn't ask for more. But it was a wonderful life, you know, I wouldn't regret anything. Had a wife for 47 years, so, you know, it's really good.
I was elated, I was very thankful, and very surprised, honestly. So it was a great thing for me. I just never thought this would be an opportunity for me, I really didn't. The highlight of my high school athletic career clearly was being the catcher for the state champions in this 1963 season. I enjoyed my time at Holmes. It was just an awesome experience. My whole high school experience was very, very good, and we had a really good football team. My senior year, we were 7-2. Got beat by the state champions, Highlands, of course, and then St. Xavier. But we had a solid. We had a really good everything. Baseball, basketball, and football team that year were all good, very good. So. My whole experience at Holmes was very memorable. Coach Tom Ellis is obviously one of my favorite people ever, and so, you know, I really like Coach Tom.